doesn't know what's going on, and the other girl is translating, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily say that they're like giggling or
And it doesn't even specify if Arceli or the lady or the woman she's speaking to in class is her friend or not.
yeah. So I think I kind of see it as maybe she doesn't speak English, but it seems like Mr. Jones doesn't know how well she can speak anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Which I would assume that if a student couldn't speak English, they would be getting some sort of ELD services, and you would have that on file as a teacher. But I don't know if that's why, I guess.
And maybe when her neighbor is speaking to her in Spanish, her friend's giving her interpretation of what she got from Mr. Jones, and that might be where Mr. Jones now thinks they're copying each other.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like getting taught something as, like me teaching you something, then you teaching somebody else something. Like you're gonna translate it differently.
Yeah, and I live right next to the border, so we had a lot of students who don't speak English, and generally speaking, if you have a teacher who doesn't speak Spanish, you would just put them next to a student who can speak both language fluently, and the student would translate back and forth. But I mean, he's in the Central Valley of California. That's what he says in the beginning. So I don't know. I mean, there was a big chunk of Hispanic, a big Hispanic population, but I don't know if Mr. Jones, I guess I don't know like his familiarity with like English language learners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There could be a chunk of Hispanic people, but they speak English.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be something he's not familiar with, I guess.
So what would we say as far as what we know then? What do we know from her? We know there's definitely some language barriers.
She doesn't speak when he calls on her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she doesn't speak when we call on her. Is she disruptive because she constantly is speaking a language that Mr. Jones doesn't know to where it's disrupting non-Spanish speakers?
See, he says it's disruptive, but he doesn't describe how she's talking. He says he has to talk over her, but I mean, there's you know how there's different levels of disruption in class.
Very true.
So like, is she just like that, or is she like rowdy? You know?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's disruptive to him, I guess. That's what we know. He finds it distracting.
I mean, yeah, he finds it okay if they're just helping each other or just clarifying certain things, but what about the work that's being sent in? Everything's the same as
Or
or
yeah.
yeah.
So he thinks that she's copying. I guess we know that he thinks that.
Like for example, I'm a substitute teacher right now, and I've been into a few classes where I see people being abnormally quiet at times, and it's because they're copying other people's work. I mean, it's hard, if I call on them, they don't really listen to me very well, but I know what they're doing. As far as a teacher goes, I mean, in the situation that from what I saw, I'm curious to think if other people besides Mr. Jones goes through the same thing.
And see, this case study is he's describing his students, so
Yeah.
he finds it disruptive, and he thinks one thing, but I wonder how the rest of his class feels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, if they know, like maybe the rest of his class finds it disruptive as well, or whatnot, or maybe they're like, oh no, she's helping her. So it's kind of what?
Yeah, it's
Yeah. I mean, because you would think if there was a language barrier and someone's explaining the assignment or the lesson or whatever it is, that there would be some errors. But at the very end, it says everything's very tidy, it's errorless, it's very neat, everything's like perfect, but she doesn't speak and she doesn't do anything.
Yeah. He seems just like so out of touch with his students. Like he doesn't, I mean, and I get this is just like for us to like dissect, so it's like kind of made up, but he just seems to like not really know much, because like maybe she doesn't speak any English, and you would think that that was something that you would probably figure out about your student,
Mm-hmm.
especially he's set up at the top it's 8 weeks into school, so that's 2 months. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
So yeah, I don't know. What I wrote down for her was she doesn't seem to speak or understand English. And then the need to know was maybe talking to the other student for clarification because she doesn't understand the English. So I don't know if we want to add more for that section. Also, I have a little thing that popped up that said remaining meeting time 8:23. You guys see that too?
Yeah, I saw that too, and I don't know what it is.
I think they limit, if you're not like a pro customer, how long your meeting is.
Oh, okay. Then does that
So do we know how long?
It's I have the remaining time.
Do we know how long we've been in here though? Like how long we've been recording?
It's because I think you have a 40-minute call, but we were talking before.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't know until we stopped recording.
Okay. Shoot.
All right. Maybe let's power through this and we can.
Yeah, and then we'll figure out what we have to do. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we'll power through it and then we can just.
I didn't know that when I first started it. But if not, we could always
do a new one with the second video.
Yeah.
And I mean, like he said, he's had a lot of questions and concerns, so we'll just tell him it timed down on us or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Oh, he's gonna watch it and hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'll read Dylan. Dylan is a typical middle school student. He likes girls. He's starting to get facial hair and trying to grow a mustache. Sometimes I forget what it's like to be 13. Well, Dylan does okay in class. His grades are typically B's with some Z's and a few A's. He listens in class, takes notes, and asks questions when I lecture. He answers questions when I call on him, although sometimes the answers are not correct. He benefits from me reviewing the previous day's work before I start on new information. He's not exactly the class clown, but has a quick smile and likes to make others laugh. I'm pleased to say that he completes his homework and turns it in each day. He is generally a good student and representative of about 2/3 of the students in my class. Dylan was born and raised in our town, is on the youth wrestling team.
Okay.
Okay. So.
It seems like Dylan is not that bad.
Yeah, Dylan seems like he's engaged.
He's okay in class. He has B's and C's and a couple of A's. I mean, kind of sounds like me. He listens, takes notes, he asks questions, he's engaged.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting because I read through it before that Dylan is an American of European ancestry, and he does talk more about Dylan as a person. Like he knows Dylan, he talks to him, obviously, because he has all this stuff, this information, this extra information. And when it came to Ray and Marta, he didn't provide that. He didn't talk about that, really. Yeah. So it kind of seems like to me like he's taken the time to get to know Dylan, whereas the other two, I don't know if he's not even sure, like, if it seems like he's not even sure if Marta really speaks English. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I think it seems like as if there's more effort put into Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
So you think Mr. Jones is more engaged with Dylan?
Yeah, like, I mean, Dylan, he seems like there's nothing I don't want to say there's nothing wrong with him, but he seems like he's very engaged in class, which might be why. But it also, like, I know students that are engaged with class that I don't necessarily know, like hobbies and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it seems like he's taking the time to get to know the student.
Okay.
I agree. It seems.
Do you think he's being a little more biased against the other students?
Well, when we read through all of them, because I read through all of them first,
Yeah.
there is a difference. There's a clear difference on how he talks to his white students than how he talks to his students of color.
Yeah.
And it's if you read Dylan and Bill, like, because they're back to back, and then you read the next one, Gina, it's just different. I don't know how to describe, like, when you read it, it's just different.
Okay.
It definitely seems like, oh, Dylan is a kid that doesn't cause me any problems and doesn't require me to do any extra work to help him. Here's that. And then, like, when he talks about Ray, he focuses on his injury and how, like, it's hard to get him engaged in class, and, like, talks about his personal struggles with having him in class, kind of.
And see, also,
yeah,
because there's another student, the last student, he's also special needs.
mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if Ray is special needs, but we're kind of leaning towards that he might be.
Mm-hmm.
But he praises the last student a lot. But he does say some things that strike me, like, he talks more about, like, the effort that the special needs students take. I don't know how to describe it. Like, when we read it, maybe you'll get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I just kind of read on a little bit with the next person, and I understand what you say now.
Okay, yeah, like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's just, that's how it starts.
He's a military brat for Bill. Okay, yeah. So he's definitely being more biased against the other students. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he even says, "Oh, Dylan's into girls, and he forgets what it's like to be 13." Maybe
he relates more to him.
He relates more to him. I mean, he has facial hair. You know, he's talking to ladies. He's doing good in school. He's he's a good kid. I mean.
Oh, and that's another thing, because it mentions, like, he likes girls, which, I mean, he's a 13-year-old boy, whatever. But there's another student in class who, I guess, flirts with him, and the way it's worded, it doesn't sound negative when talking about Dylan, but it sounds negative when talking about the other child.
Okay, I guess. Okay.
So it's, I don't know, like,
Uh-oh.
Yeah, less than a minute.
Okay, why don't we just, like, end this meeting and then we'll restart a new one.
Okay.
Got it. Could you guys call me on it then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna end it.